Hi everyone, I'm here to represent Sun Mobility. Basically, we are an energy infrastructure company for EVs, and I think I'll start with a point where one of you had asked a question. As OEMs, are you looking to go back to the drawing board and rethink of EVs? So we did that. We literally went back to the drawing board and thought about how we can enable EV adoption and through technology and a business model, and that's what we did. So while in this presentation I'll be talking more about generic charging infrastructure for the country, but I will also touch upon some of the technologies that we have developed which we believe will cater to certain segments and certain applications in electric mobility. So coming to the, some of the points have already been covered by Mahesh and Ms. Krishna, and I don't need to repeat them, but most of you now know about this paradigm, commonly known as CASE, Connected, Autonomous, Shared Electric. We've been talking about this for last 2 years now. The slide is like 2-year old. And in India, we have one more point to CASE, which is R. R stands for renewable energy. So the future of mobility is gonna be around these 5 pillars, and different companies need to look at how they can be part of, you know, these aspects, and already there are companies which are operating business models in this context. Now coming to, you know, how mobility is going to get transformed, before I jump to charging infrastructure, I need to just set some context. And if you look at mobility as a solution, technology and business model is going to change the way people are commuting. You know, today, if the cost of going from point A to point B is X, tomorrow that cost is going to go lower because of several factors. First, vehicles are becoming more efficient. You see more fuel efficient vehicles are coming, which is reducing your cost of transport. Second, as you add electric vehicles to the mix, electric vehicles again bring down the cost. And when I say cost, I'm actually talking about the total cost of ownership. So the overall cost of transportation is also reduced when electrics come into this mix. Further, when you power these electrics with solar, and if you look at India today, solar is already cheaper than the grid. You can further reduce the cost of energy that is going into EVs, thus cost of transport. Followed by, you know, as mobility is becoming more and more shared, the same asset is being used by, you know, different people, and hence that reduces the cost. And the last but one is autonomous. So if you ask Ola and Uber what they are working on next, is the biggest cost in their business model is the driver. So they're trying to remove the driver and make, you know, look at autonomous. So in India, autonomous is you know, people find it that is not possible in India because of the indiscipline that we have, as you know, in our traffic system. But autonomous will find certain applications. I'm sure you will be glad to know that the Delhi Metro has certain routes where metro runs autonomously. So there will be some point-to-point routes where vehicles will run autonomously, and that cost of human will also, the safety of it increases as you use semi-autonomous technologies. The last part is, of course, connected. Connectivity further reduces the cost, you know, by information sharing. So if you look at from today and, you know, 10 years down the line, your transportation will be 70% cheaper, 75% less energy, and clean and convenient. So that's how whether EVs or some other technology, that's how we are moving. Coming to EV ecosystem, you all know about these facts. I'm sure you have read about these facts. EVs have been growing rapidly, but the sales figures that are published are always about cars. I'm trying to bring another perspective about the segment that we are interested in as a country, which is 2- and 3-wheelers and buses. So if you look at vehicles, and in a similar context, China, which is a very India-like economy, they sell around 30 million plus 2-wheelers almost every year, and around, you know, 70 to 90,000 electric buses. So 99% of all the electric buses sold in the world are sold in China. So we have a paradigm that it's not just cars. The electric mobility is also impacting other segments. May not be very popular in the West, but look at East. And the reason, obviously, our technology cost is reducing. Basically, battery costs are coming down 8% year on year. Governments, are pushing towards EVs. You've heard several announcements by our government. Also, countries like France, UK, Sri Lanka have announced targets of moving completely towards electric vehicles over the next 10 to 15 years. So that is creating a push. And last but not the least, you see why people are buying an Ather or people are buying a Tesla, because people are buying those vehicles because of the cool properties that they have, not the green properties. So that is where consumer perception is changing. They find EVs like, iPhone on the wheels. So that's what is giving them a kick. Coming to the India context, the reason why as a country we are moving to electrics is government, because we import all the oil and government wants the oil bill to get reduced. Pollution, as Goldie mentioned just now, pollution is a big challenge in our country. Unfortunately, the top 20 polluted countries, we have the biggest list in that. India has a very large auto industry, and if that industry is disrupted by someone, somewhere, we got to, work towards it. If we don't catch up, we will lose this race just like how we lost the race of solar to China. And in India, that unique traffic system that we have actually has a very good condition for EVs. Small vehicles are there, stop and go traffic is there. In stop and go traffic, EVs are more efficient than ICs, when you have to wait at the signal, because here the energy is used mostly for the motion. And the last part is energy cost of electricity is going to go down because of the increasing part of solar in the mix. Now that's why government has come up with the FAME2 scheme. 10,000 crores has been devoted to promote this industry. That's where we are coming from. Now, as I mentioned to you, if you look at India mix, in a city like Bangalore, 43% of people use BMTC buses, and generally in urban cities, 45% of your trips happen through two-wheelers or three-wheelers. So that's the segment that we believe is the most impactful segment in the Indian transport mix, and that needs to go electric first. Buses, two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and in three-wheelers, a new and rising segment called e-rickshaws. We have 1.5 million of them on the road. Every year, there are 350,000 vehicles sold, and government is now taking a notice of this. This is completely without any government subsidy. So this segment together constitute 85% of all the vehicles sold in the country, and that's where we believe, and even government is looking at electrification. So I think I'll just bring a few points, and there are challenges in EVs today. We all know one of the challenges, cost is high because of batteries. Second is, range anxiety. No matter how much battery you give, people always feel, I don't have enough range. And the last part is obviously the long refueling time. It takes few hours. Even with a fast charger, it takes 90 minutes to fill, whereas you are all used to 5 minutes or 2 minutes of refueling. So, and another problem is we don't recognize the fact, or we take it for granted. People have invested in trillions of dollars in creating this whole oil-based economy. No such investment has been made for EVs yet. So companies or organizations need to look at that part. So that's another challenge. So when I talk about that, the approach, the clean slate approach, if you separate the batteries from the vehicle, both physically and financially, that approach can make the cost of EVs come down. And if you are using a smaller swappable battery, using that asset multiple times in more efficient manner, you can actually bring down the cost of energy as well, cheaper than petrol. So that is an approach called battery swapping, which is a a different way of thinking about how EVs are going to be commercialized. So coming to some of the points about, what are the right ways people should develop EVs in India, coming to two-wheeler segment, China has shown to the world how two-wheelers can be mass produced in terms of electric, but we don't want to go the China way because China has graduated from cycles to electric two-wheelers. We are used to Activas and we need an Activa equivalent vehicle. So that's the first point we need. Second is longer range because we are in two-wheelers also we do a lot of distances. Two-wheeler is sometimes even used for intercity for if there's a town nearby. And the third part is we are a very value conscious customer. So we really need to think about different ways. If you talk about two-wheelers, everyone has a budget in mind, 60 to 80K. That's the mass market budget. People do buy Royal Enfields, but I'm talking about the mass market here. So that is the sweet spot where companies should look at creating electric two-wheelers. Coming to the charging infrastructure part of two-wheelers, so charging infrastructure has always been a debate, charging, swapping, flash charging, what is the right method? I would say India needs to adopt all different types of charging infrastructure. There are different applications which require different kinds of charging infrastructure. For example, an application like personal two-wheeler where you don't drive more than 50 kilometers. There was a question asked, people don't drive more than 30 kilometers. You don't need anything, you can charge at home. You've got fuel at your home. Now, so for that AC charging works perfectly well. And that's how people targeting that segment should look at that kind of an infrastructure. When it comes to other applications like delivery bike or bike taxis where you don't know where you're going, you don't know when you are going next, and the distances are high, models like swapping make a lot more sense. And on the, if you have noticed on the y-axis, I have kept cost as a parameter. So I'm talking about what charging infrastructure works if you have to ensure that the cost is acceptable for that segment. Coming to three-wheelers and small, small commercial vehicles, we are one of the largest three-wheeler industry. Plus, we sell around 1.5 million of e-rickshaws as well. So it's a huge market. And what we need here, see, that's a very, very value-conscious segment. You really need very efficient and low-cost powertrain technologies because those vehicles are meant to make money. And you cannot afford to give them something which is over-engineered. Second, platform, you look at I don't want to name an OEM, but you look at some of the OEM's vehicles, they are so heavy because they are built to do all terrains. But their OEMs need to think differently. They need to understand that EVs, especially in three-wheelers, are going to be in this segment of, city commuting, last mile delivery. So that's where they need to look at lightweight platforms because battery is a precious resource and that needs to be used judiciously. And third is there are different models, swapping, leasing, people need to innovate there. Again, for charging infrastructure, point-to-point, 50 kilometers a day, last mile connectivity for metro, etc., charging works absolutely well, right? For applications where you need to do more kilometers, ad hoc routes, swapping makes a lot more sense when it comes to economics. Coming to four-wheelers, globally you're talking about Teslas, Mercedes, BMWs, Audis, etc. India, we are the mecca of small cars. 69% of all cars are lesser than they are lesser than 7 lakhs or 6 lakhs. And that's where we need to target. How do we create that mass market car? Even customers are very value conscious. We need low price to performance ratio, and innovation needs to be done around leasing of battery, or you need to also look at creating efficient and modular powertrain so that the powertrain cost can get amortized across platforms. Coming to charging infrastructure for four-wheelers, again the same approach, fixed routes, home charging. There's another segment here, like employee transport commuting. There's a company called Lithium Urban Technologies. They use fast charging. All these fast chargers are installed at the premises of companies where employees are being transported, and there are fixed routes, fixed routes and fixed timings. So it makes a lot of sense to put fast charging there. And the third segment is taxi. If Ola and Ubers need to run electrics, then it needs to be either ultra fast charging or super fast charging, or maybe swapping. So these are the right approaches for these applications. Coming to buses, as I mentioned about China, they are going, they sell more electric buses than the city buses that we sell in India. So they have far more experience, and we are also now looking at buses very aggressively. In India, we need slightly different solution, because in China, they give subsidies of up to $80,000, and that's where we can't afford. That's where India needs to think differently. There are subsidies for short term, but we cannot sustain it for long. So cost-effective ways needs to be developed. There needs to be connectivity other IPT systems. So they need to think beyond electrics and add more value. And third is obviously India-centric solution. It's very important to think about the buses. Coming to the charging infrastructure part, again, school bus, regular charging. My time is up, so I'm just now running fast. Coming to employee transport commuting, fast charging works, going to Infosys. And then city buses, swapping makes a lot of sense, or ultra fast charging. So this is what we do. We've created an energy infrastructure platform that can connect with batteries, stations, swappable batteries, quick interchange stations, and smart network. This is a small video. I'll just, if I can play. Right. So that talks about swapping. I'll jump to the second video, because that's how we do battery swapping for buses, where we use a robotic arm instead of manual swapping, and the entire swapping happens within 3 minutes through a robot. The advantage is buses can do as many kilometers as they want with a smaller battery. This battery weighs 1/5 the weight of a regular electric bus battery. So you can actually carry 25 more passengers instead of putting a dead battery on board the bus. Coming to one, last video I'm talking about, so we've started operationalizing this technology across 2 OEMs that we've partnered with. We've covered more than 500,000 kilometers with 3-wheelers, 40,000 kilometers with buses in Ahmedabad. You can see whenever you go and visit Ahmedabad and you're taking a public bus, you might just end up going into a bus which uses swappable battery. And as I mentioned, with Smarty, we've partnered with Smarty and looking at deploying this solution at Smarty. And this is one video at Smarty where what drivers have to say about our solution.
मेरा नाम मोहम्मद सलमान है। मैं पिछले 7 महीने से स्मार्टी की गाड़ी चला रहा हूँ। तो इस समय सनमोवेट की जो बैटरी आई है वो एक इतनी अच्छी बैटरी है कि उसकी पावर भी और उसकी स्पीड के मामले में बहुत अच्छी है, और उसमें चार्जिंग की कोई इशू नहीं रहेगी कि चार्जिंग के पहले इशू होती थी, 4 घंटे 5 घंटे वेट करना पड़ता था। और इतना फ़ायदा है कि इस बैटरी के लिए हमें सिर्फ 2-3 मिनट बस यहाँ पे वेट करना पड़ता है। 2-3 मिनट में अपनी गाड़ी निकाल के यहाँ से वापस चले जाते हैं।
पहले हमारे 8 से 9 चक्कर लगते थे, अब 15 चक्कर आराम से लग जाते हैं। पहले 4 घंटे वो चार्जिंग के थे, उसमें 4 चक्कर एक्स्ट्रा लग गए हमारे, और कुछ स्पीड का फ़र्क हो गया। इस तरह करके हमारे 4-5 चक्कर बढ़ गए, तो वो करके हमारे 15 चक्कर लग जाते हैं।
एक मतलब शन मोबाइलिटी ही कंपनी एक ऐसी आई है जो हमारे ड्राइवर भाइयों के लिए फ़ायदा है। इसमें बेनिफिट के लिए उन्होंने सोचा है कंपनी वालों ने, और इसमें हमें काफ़ी बेनिफिट है। हमारा टाइम भी बचत हो रहा है और हमें पैसे की जो है ज़्यादा मात्रा में हम इसको कमा सकते हैं। इसमें ज़्यादा मात्रा से कमा रहे हैं। पहले जो हम 400-500 रुपये कमाते थे, और जब से इस सन मोबाइलिटी कंपनी से जुड़े हुए हैं हम।
And while you enjoy the video in a silent mode, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Yuvraj for the interesting session that he brought us for today.